Dr. Kim Hyun-woo sat in his small office at the Space Research Center, staring at the computer screen that showed strange patterns in the radio waves from deep space. For 15 years, he had been listening to the sounds of the universe, hoping to find something that would prove humans were not alone. Most days, he only heard the usual noise from distant stars and planets. But today was different. Hidden in the background static, there were patterns that looked almost like a code. His hands shook as he adjusted the computer settings to get a clearer signal. The patterns were too regular to be natural. Someone or something was trying to send a message. "Lee Min-ho, come look at this," he called to his assistant, who was working at another desk nearby. Lee Min-ho was the best codebreaker in their team, a quiet man who could solve puzzles that made other people give up. Lee Min-ho walked over and looked at the screen. His eyes grew wide as he studied the patterns. "This is not random noise," he whispered. "This looks like quantum encryption. Very advanced. Much more advanced than anything we have on Earth." For the next 3 days, the two men worked without stopping. They drank coffee and ate sandwiches at their desks while trying to break the code. Other workers in the building thought they were crazy, staying so late every night. But Kim Hyun-woo knew this was the most important work of his life. On the 4th morning, Lee Min-ho suddenly stood up from his chair. "I got it," he said, his voice full of excitement and fear. "I broke the code, but you are not going to believe what it says." The first message appeared on their screen in perfect English. "Urgent. Sol 3 inhabitants. Galaxy-wide extinction event in progress. HFY. Advance unstoppable. Request immediate military assistance. Time remaining. Estimated 847 standard cycles." Kim Hyun-woo felt his heart stop. Sol 3 was what scientists called Earth. Someone in space was asking Earth for help in a war, but that was impossible. Earth had no space military. Earth had no way to travel between stars. Earth was just a small planet with people who still fought wars with each other. "There are more messages," Lee Min-ho said, his face pale. "Hundreds of them. They have been trying to contact us for 30 years. The two men spent the next week reading message after message. Each one told a story more terrible than the last. A race of beings called the HFY had been destroying planets across the galaxy. They were made of living crystal and flew in ships that looked like giant creatures. They would arrive at a planet, kill most of the people, and make the survivors work as slaves. The messages came from something called the Galactic Council. They were a group of different alien races who had been fighting the HFY for decades, but they were losing. The HFY were too strong, too fast, and too cruel. "But why are they asking Earth for help?" Kim Hyun-woo asked. "We do not even have one spaceship that can leave our solar system." Lee Min-ho found the answer in a message that was different from the others. It was older, written in a language that looked almost like ancient Korean, mixed with symbols they had never seen before. When they finally decoded it, both men sat in silence for a long time. The message said that humans were not originally from Earth. Long ago, their ancestors had been the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They were called the Terran Guard, and they protected all the peaceful planets from evil races like the HFY. But something had happened. A great war had forced the Terran Guard to hide their children on Earth, behind a special barrier that kept the planet hidden from the rest of the galaxy. "We are their descendants," Lee Min-ho whispered. "Our ancestors were space warriors. The barrier around Earth had been programmed to stay active until the galaxy needed the Terran Guard again. The messages had been sent automatically when the HFY threat became too great, but Earth's technology was not advanced enough to receive them clearly until now." Kim Hyun-woo looked at his assistant. "We need to tell the government. We need to tell everyone." "But who will believe us?" Lee Min-ho asked. "People will think we are crazy." "Then we make them believe," Kim Hyun-woo said. "Because if we do not, the HFY will eventually find Earth, and when they do, there will be nowhere left to hide." The two men looked at their computer screen, which showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the planets that the HFY had already destroyed. There were thousands of them, and slowly the red dots were moving toward the area where Earth was hidden. In the distance, they could hear the normal sounds of the research center. People were having lunch, talking about their weekend plans and complaining about the weather. None of them knew that their entire world was about to change forever. Kim Hyun-woo saved all the messages on multiple computers and storage devices. Tomorrow he would call the president's office. Tomorrow he would try to explain that Earth's vacation from Galactic War was over. President Park Ji-sung sat in the emergency meeting room deep underground in Seoul. Around the long table were the most important leaders from every major country on Earth. General Choi Dong-min from the Korean military, President Johnson from America, Prime Minister Williams from Britain, and 15 other world leaders all stared at the large screen showing the decoded alien messages. Dr. Kim Hyun-woo stood at the front of the room, still wearing the same clothes he had worn for 3 days. His hands shook as he clicked through the messages that had changed everything. "The aliens call themselves the Galactic Council," he explained. "They have been fighting a war against the HFY for over 200 years, but they are losing." General Choi Dong-min looked at the battle reports on the screen. Even though he had never seen space combat before, something about the tactical information made perfect sense to him. "These HFY fight in straight lines," he said suddenly. "They use the same attack patterns over and over. They can be beaten." The American president looked confused. "General Choi, how can you possibly know that? You have never seen these aliens before." General Choi stood up and walked to the screen. He pointed at the battle diagrams. "Look here. Every time they attack a planet, they do the same thing. Big ships in front, smaller ships behind. They never change their formation. Any military academy student could beat them with the right weapons." Colonel Nam Soo-jin, who had been quietly studying the data on her tablet, suddenly spoke up. "The general is right. I have been looking at these battles for 2 hours, and I can already see 12 different ways to defeat their formations. It is like the knowledge is already in my head." President Park felt a chill run down his spine. "Dr. Kim, tell them about our ancestors." Dr. Kim clicked to a new screen that showed the ancient message about the Terran Guard. "According to these records, humans are not originally from Earth. Our ancestors were the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They protected peaceful planets from races like the HFY, but during a great war they hid their children on Earth to keep them safe." Dr. Yoon Ji-hae, Korea's top scientist, had been studying quantum physics for 20 years. As she read the technical data about human genetics, something clicked in her mind. "The barrier around Earth," she said excitedly. "It was not just hiding us. It was changing us, making us forget our warrior nature so we could live in peace. But now the barrier is weakening," Dr. Kim continued. "The messages are getting through because the galaxy needs us again, and our genetic memory is starting to wake up over the next few hours." Something amazing happened in that underground room. Military officers who had spent their careers planning ground wars suddenly found themselves drawing battle plans for space combat. Engineers who had never seen alien technology began sketching designs for weapons that could fight the HFY ships. Captain Lee So-young from the Korean Navy looked at the alien ship designs and immediately understood their weaknesses. "Their bioships heal themselves," she said, "but they need time. If we hit them fast enough in the right places, they cannot repair the damage." General Thompson from the American Air Force nodded. "Captain Lee is correct. We need fast attack groups, hit-and-run tactics. The HFY are used to enemies who fight like them, slow and predictable." As the day went on, the world leaders watched in amazement as their military experts began working together, like they had trained for space war their entire lives. Korean naval officers shared ideas with Russian pilots. American engineers worked with Japanese scientists. British tacticians planned attacks with Indian commanders. "It is like we are remembering something we never learned," whispered Prime Minister Williams. Dr. Yoon Ji-hae had been running computer simulations of human brain activity. "The genetic memory is real," she announced. "Our DNA contains information from our ancestors. The stress of learning about the Galactic War is activating dormant parts of our brains." President Park stood up and looked around the room. "So what you are telling me is that every human on Earth has the potential to become a space warrior." "Not just potential," General Choi said. studying a tactical display that he somehow understood perfectly. We already are space warriors. We just forgot. The meeting continued through the night and into the next day. Plans were made to secretly begin building spaceships. Scientists were assigned to study the ancient Terran Guard technology mentioned in the messages. Military bases around the world were quietly converted to prepare for a war that most people did not even know was coming. But the most surprising discovery came from Dr. Lee Minho, who had been analyzing the quantum signatures in the alien messages. "There is something else," he said, "hidden in the deepest part of the transmissions. It is not a message. It is a program." "What kind of program?" President Park asked. "An artificial intelligence, very old and very advanced. It has been sleeping in Earth's quantum field, waiting for us to find it." Dr. Lee looked up from his computer with wide eyes. "I think it was left here by our ancestors. A teacher to help us remember how to fight." The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. Somewhere in the invisible quantum energy around Earth, an ancient alien computer was waiting to help humanity become warriors again. Captain Lee So-young stood in what used to be a subway tunnel beneath Seoul. But now, it looked like something from a science fiction movie. Hundreds of workers in hard hats were building humanity's first real spaceship. The tunnel had been expanded and converted into a secret shipyard, hidden from the world above. "How is the progress?" asked engineer Kang Min-seo as he climbed down from the ship's hull. His clothes were covered in metal dust and strange blue oil that came from the alien technology they were trying to understand. "Better than expected," Captain Lee replied, looking at her tablet. "The workers are learning faster than anyone thought possible. Yesterday, Kim the welder had never seen quantum metal before. Today he is joining hull plates like he has been doing it for 20 years. Above them, the massive ship was taking shape. It was not beautiful like the spaceships in movies. Instead, it looked dangerous and practical, with thick armor plating and weapon systems that could rotate in any direction. The workers had named it the UES Defiance, and it was going to be the first of many." Engineer Kang wiped sweat from his forehead. "The genetic memory effect is getting stronger every day. This morning I woke up knowing how to repair quantum drive systems. Last week I did not even know what a quantum drive was. In similar tunnels and underground facilities around the world, the same thing was happening. Old subway systems in New York, abandoned mines in Russia, and unused military bunkers in Japan had all been converted into secret shipyards. Each facility was building parts for Earth's growing space fleet." Dr. Yoon Ji-hee walked over to them, carrying a small device that glowed with soft blue light. "I have good news," she said with excitement in her voice. "We found it. The artificial intelligence that was hidden in Earth's quantum field." Captain Lee and Engineer Kang followed her to a special room filled with quantum computers. The machines hummed quietly as they processed information at speeds no human could understand. In the center of the room was a holographic display that showed swirling patterns of light. "Watch this," Dr. Yoon said. She typed a command into the computer. "Activate Atlas Protocol." The holographic display suddenly changed. The swirling lights formed into the shape of a human face, but it was made of pure energy. When it spoke, its voice sounded both ancient and modern at the same time. "Greetings, descendants of the Terran Guard," the AI said. "I am Atlas, Advanced Tactical Learning and Strategy System. I have been waiting in quantum sleep for 3,000 years." Captain Lee stared at the glowing face. "You are from our ancestors?" "Correct. I was created by the last generation of the Terran Guard before they placed their children in protective hiding on this world. My purpose is to help you remember your warrior heritage and prepare for the return of the great threat." Engineer Kang stepped closer to the display. "Can you help us build better spaceships?" The AI's expression changed to what might have been a smile. "I can do much more than that. I contain the complete technological database of the Terran Guard, including weapon systems, ship designs, and battle tactics that defeated the Kethvar before." Over the next few weeks, Atlas became humanity's greatest teacher. The AI could project itself into any quantum computer on Earth, helping workers in every secret facility. When a welder in Tokyo needed to know how to join two different types of alien metal, Atlas was there to guide his hands. When engineers in London struggled with quantum drive calculations, Atlas provided the formulas their ancestors had perfected long ago. Commander Song Tai-ho was in charge of training Earth's new space fleet crews. He stood in a simulation room, where young pilots were learning to fly ships that did not exist yet except in computer programs. The pilots wore special helmets that connected their minds directly to Atlas. "Fire at the HFY bioship," he commanded. Lieutenant Park Jae-min, who had been a taxi driver just 3 months ago, moved his hands over the holographic controls like he had been flying spaceships his entire life. The simulated weapons fired, and the enemy ship exploded in a shower of digital light. "Perfect shot," Commander Song said with pride. "Atlas, how is their progress?" The AI's voice came through the speakers. "All pilots are exceeding expected learning curves. Their genetic memories are integrating with my tactical databases. They will be ready for real combat within 60 days. In the shipyard below, Captain Lee watched as the UES Defiance was finally complete. The ship was beautiful in its own deadly way, covered in adaptive armor that could change color and texture to match its surroundings. Its weapon systems were a combination of human creativity and ancient Terran Guard technology. "How many ships do we have now?" she asked Engineer Kang. 230 completed, 70 more under construction," he replied. "Each one is different because the workers keep improving the designs. Atlas says this adaptability was one of our greatest strengths as the Terran Guard." Dr. Yoon joined them on the observation deck. "The Galactic Council sent another message today," she said. "The HFY have destroyed 3 more star systems. They are moving faster now, like they sense that something has changed." Captain Lee looked at the rows of spaceships filling the underground hangar. 6 months ago, Earth had no space military at all. Now they had a fleet that could travel between stars and fight enemies that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. "Atlas," she called out, "are we ready?" The AI's glowing face appeared on a nearby screen. "The ships are ready, the crews are ready. The question is, are you ready to become the Terran Guard again?" Captain Lee smiled. "We never stopped being the Terran Guard. We just forgot for a while." Admiral Bae Hyojin stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance as it traveled through quantum space toward the Altair star system. Around her, the crew worked at their stations with the calm confidence of people who had been born for this moment. Just 8 months ago, most of them had been ordinary civilians. Now they moved like veteran space warriors. "Admiral, we are approaching the jump point," reported Lieutenant Kim Suho from the navigation station. His hands moved over the holographic controls without hesitation, even though he had been a college student studying literature before the awakening began. "Atlas, show me the enemy positions," Admiral Bae commanded. The ship's AI projected a 3-dimensional map of the Altair system in the center of the bridge. Red dots showed the locations of 12 massive HFY bioships, each one the size of a small moon. They were arranged in their typical formation around the planet Altair 4, where 5 billion alien civilians were being held as slaves. "The HFY have been using the same battle formation for 300 years, Atlas explained in its calm voice. "Large bioships in front, smaller support vessels behind, all moving in straight lines toward their target." Captain Oh Jun-ho, leader of the fighter squadron, studied the tactical display from his position at the communications station. "They fight like they are still hunting animals on their home planet," he said. "No creativity, no adaptation." Admiral Bae nodded. "That is exactly why we are going to beat them. Prepare for quantum jump." The UES Defiance and its escort of 50 smaller ships suddenly appeared in normal space near Altair 4. The HFY bioships immediately detected them and began moving into their standard attack formation. The crystalline aliens had grown so confident after centuries of easy victories that they did not even consider that these unknown ships might be dangerous. "Enemy vessels approaching," reported Ensign Lee De-young from the sensor station. "They are transmitting something, and it sounds like laughter." Admiral Bae smiled coldly. "Let them laugh. Captain O, launch your fighters, use attack pattern Delta 7. Captain Oh Jun-ho ran to the fighter bay where 24 small combat ships waited. Each fighter was barely large enough for one pilot, but they were fast and equipped with quantum drives that could do things no HFY had ever seen before. "Listen up," Captain O told his pilots over the radio. "We are not going to fight these monsters the way they expect. We are going to show them what happens when they mess with the descendants of the Terran Guard." The fighters launched from the UES Defiance like angry hornets. Instead of flying in formation toward the enemy, they spread out and began using their quantum drives in ways that broke every rule of normal space combat. Some fighters disappeared and reappeared behind enemy ships. Others created temporal distortion fields that made the HFY weapons miss their targets. Lieutenant Park Min-jung, flying fighter designation Dragon 7, found herself facing a HFY bioship that was 50 times larger than her small craft. The crystalline structure of the enemy ship pulsed with organic light as it tried to target her with its bioplasma cannons. "Too slow," she whispered, and activated her quantum drive. Her fighter seemed to split into 3 identical copies, each one moving in a different direction. The confused bioship fired at all 3, but hit nothing as the real fighter materialized directly above its neural center and fired a concentrated burst of quantum energy. The massive bioship convulsed as its nervous system was destroyed. For the first time in 300 years, a HFY capital ship had been defeated by a single fighter. Meanwhile, Admiral Bay was coordinating the main fleet's attack from the bridge of the UES Defiance. The human ships did not form neat battle lines like the Galactic Council forces had always done. Instead, they moved like a pack of wolves, attacking from multiple directions and disappearing before the slow bioships could respond. "Target their communication nodes," she ordered. "Atlas has identified 17 critical points on each bioship. If we destroy them, the ships cannot coordinate with each other." The human fleet split into small attack groups, each one focusing on a different enemy vessel. The HFY had never faced opponents who could think and adapt this quickly. Their bioships were designed to fight enemies who followed predictable patterns, not humans who treated space combat like a 3-dimensional chess game. Commander Song Tai-ho, leading an attack group of 6 ships, found himself facing 2 bioships that were trying to protect each other by linking their defensive shields. Any normal enemy would have had to choose which ship to attack first. All ships, synchronized quantum jump in 3, 2, 1, mark. Song's entire attack group disappeared and reappeared inside the linked shield bubble, surrounded by the 2 bioships. Before the HFY could react, the human ships fired at point-blank range, destroying both enemies simultaneously. The battle lasted exactly 6 hours and 17 minutes. When it was over, all 12 HFY bioships had been destroyed or disabled, while the human fleet had lost only 3 fighters. The 5 billion enslaved aliens on Altair 4 were free for the first time in decades. As the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, Admiral Bay opened a communication channel that broadcast across the entire galaxy. "This is Admiral Bay Hee-jin of the Terran Guard," she announced. "To all enslaved peoples, we are coming to get you. To the HFY, your time of easy victories is over. Earth has awakened, and we remember who we used to be." Across the galaxy, billions of enslaved aliens heard the message and dared to hope for the first time in centuries. Admiral Kim Da-eun stood on the bridge of the UES Terra's Wrath, looking at the massive planet that filled the main viewing screen. HFY Prime was unlike any world humans had ever seen. The entire surface was covered in crystalline structures that pulsed with dark energy, and the sky was filled with thousands of bioships that formed the most powerful defense fleet in the galaxy. "Atlas, analysis of enemy defenses," she commanded. The AI's holographic face appeared beside her. HFY Prime is protected by 7,000 bioships, 30 orbital defense platforms, and a planetary shield that has never been penetrated. Traditional assault would require a fleet 10 times our current size. Behind Admiral Kim, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. These were the best of humanity's space warriors, veterans of 50 battles across the galaxy. For 2 years, they had been liberating enslaved worlds and defeating HFY fleets. But this was different. This was the enemy's home world, where the crystalline overlords had ruled for 800 years. "Good thing we are not traditional," said Lieutenant Colonel Seo Min-gyu, who commanded the assault marines. He was studying the tactical display with the calm confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. "Admiral, I have an idea." The human fleet had grown to over 500 ships during their campaign across the galaxy. They had rescued millions of enslaved aliens and destroyed countless Kethvar bioships. Each victory had made them stronger and more confident. Now they faced their final test. "The planetary shield has one weakness," Lieutenant Colonel Seo continued. "It is designed to stop attacks from outside. But what if we attack from inside?" Admiral Kim smiled. "Explain." "Our quantum drives can create artificial wormholes. Instead of trying to break through the shield, we create wormholes that go around it. We appear directly in the planet's atmosphere." Atlas processed this idea for exactly 0.3 seconds. "The plan is tactically sound but extremely dangerous. Ships materializing inside an atmosphere will face immediate attack from all directions. Survival probability is 37%. "Better odds than we had at Vega Prime," said Captain Yoon Haejung from the communications station. "And we won that one too." Admiral Kim looked around the bridge at her crew. These people had left everything behind on Earth to fight a war in space. They had seen their friends die in battles against monsters that most humans could not even imagine. But they had never given up because they remembered who they were. "All ships prepare for quantum jump," she announced over the fleet communication system. "We are going to show the Kethvar what happens when you threaten the galaxy, while the Terran Guard is watching." The human fleet spread out around Kethvar Prime, with each ship calculating a different entry point. The plan was to appear simultaneously, in 12 different locations across the planet's surface, creating chaos and confusion among the defenders. "Jump in 3, 2, 1, execute!" 500 human ships disappeared from normal space and reappeared in the thick, poisonous atmosphere of Kethvar Prime. Immediately, alarms began sounding across the planet as the crystalline beings realized that their impenetrable defense had been bypassed. Lieutenant Colonel Seo led the first wave of atmospheric fighters toward the capital city, a massive structure of living crystal that reached into the clouds. His squadron faced immediate attack from hundreds of defensive weapons, but the human pilots moved through the enemy fire like they were dancing. "Target the command spires," he ordered over the radio. "Atlas has identified the Kethvar Leadership Council. If we can capture them, the war ends today." Meanwhile, Admiral Kim was coordinating the fleet battle from the UES Terra's Wrath as it dove through the planet's atmosphere. The ship's adaptive armor glowed red-hot from atmospheric friction, but the quantum drive kept it stable as enemy fire exploded around them. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the planet's surface," reported Captain Yoon. "It is from the Kethvar High Council." The main screen showed 3 tall figures made of living crystal. Their bodies pulsed with angry red light as they spoke in voices that sounded like breaking glass. "Humans of the failed Terran Guard," the central figure said. "You cannot defeat us on our own world. Surrender now, and we will kill you quickly." Admiral Kim stood up and faced the screen. "I am Admiral Kim Da-yoon, commanding officer of the Human Liberation Fleet. You have terrorized this galaxy for 8 centuries. You have enslaved billions of innocent people. You have destroyed entire civilizations. Today, that ends." "You are few and we are many," the Kethvar leader replied. "Your ancestors failed before. You will fail again." "Our ancestors did not fail," Admiral Kim said calmly. "They succeeded perfectly. They kept their children safe until the galaxy needed them again, and now we are here." The battle for Kethvar Prime lasted 18 hours. Human ships fought through atmospheric storms and enemy fire, while ground forces captured key installations across the planet. The Kethvar fought desperately, but they had grown weak during centuries of easy victories. They had forgotten how to face an enemy that could adapt and think faster than they could. When the sun rose over the crystalline capital city, Lieutenant Colonel Seo stood in the High Council chamber with the 3 Kethvar leaders as his prisoners. Around the planet, thousands of bioships were surrendering or fleeing toward the edge of the galaxy. Admiral Kim's final message was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "This is Admiral Kim of the Terran Guard. The Kethvar Empire is finished. The galaxy is free, and we will make sure it stays that way." The age of crystal tyranny was over. The age of human protection had begun.